Hey there everyone, and welcome to the channel for another Escape from Tarkov video. The wipe is hit, the Timmies are out in full force, and the streets of Tarkov are finally open for exploration. It's a pretty good time to be a Tarkov player, honestly. Things aren't perfect, but we have some forward momentum, and while it will no doubt be a rocky road going forward, I think this 0.13 patch shows that things might finally start changing at a bit of a quicker pace. First up, we have the big guns, Streets of Tarkov, or at least one big neighborhood within Streets of Tarkov, which gives us something like one large city block plus some back streets and construction areas as our first introduction to the mean streets of Tarkov. My first impressions of Streets are honestly pretty positive overall. Even just this section of the map is pretty big, and while it'll take a while before you really know where anything is, once you figure out how to navigate the labyrinth, there's some pretty cool stuff to discover. The environmental design and atmosphere is pretty great, really nailing the look of a once prosperous city that turned into a war zone and then became no man's land. The scale of everything is really good, the design of shops and apartments is quite detailed as you might expect, the rubble and overgrown greenery is well placed, and overall it just nails it on the aesthetics. Really, my only complaints with the design of the map so far is the sheer amount of doors and buildings that are just inaccessible. I do understand that BSG can't really let us go into every single building and room that we can see on the map, but in most other Tarkov maps, nearly every single building that you see is explorable, and it just doesn't hit the same when every apartment building only has one or two rooms that can be entered. That being said, I haven't got a lot of keys yet, and I know there's some cool areas that I simply haven't found myself. So there's definitely more cool stuff to discover, and it's pretty neat feeling like a rat in the maze again, trying to find better paths to the cheese at the center, and not really knowing where you're going. While we don't have 40 players on Streets yet, it does feel pretty lively, and I'm constantly running into other people and big groups of player scavs on the map, so it's definitely not boring. Performance-wise, it's kind of par for the course with Lighthouse, which is truly unfortunate for a lot of people. Even on my setup with a 3080 and a 12700 CPU, I struggle to get good frames on Streets while I'm streaming at the same time. I think it's unfortunate that we don't have any raiders or anything on the map yet, at least not to my knowledge, and the performance does need improvement. But for a first iteration, Streets of Tarkov is doing pretty well, at least I think so. After Streets of Tarkov, to me, forward progress on the audio in Tarkov is probably next in line for the most exciting thing to come with this patch. Steam Audio has been dropped entirely, replaced with another system called Oculus Audio, which has been implemented on Factory, Customs, Woods, and Streets of Tarkov. And all the other maps are basically raw dogging the sound files through the default Unity audio. With this update, we kind of have to take the good with the bad, and just hold out hope that all this means we should be expecting more forward progress on the audio throughout this wipe cycle. In some ways, the audio really is better with this new system. Sound occlusion and mitigation, when it's working properly, does sound a lot more immersive, and individual sound effects like gunshots in the distance from inside buildings has a lot more depth and effect to it. VoIP is also properly muffled when someone is talking to you from above or below through the floor. And the VoIP range feels a lot more immersive and like it bounces around obstacles when the sound barriers are working correctly. It also no longer completely cuts out the sound when players are above or below you and blocked by stairs or floors. It's not perfect, but just having more information about what's going on around you is a great step forward. And with continued improvement on this system, I can see it being a lot more satisfying. However, we also can't ignore the bad parts of this change, at least in the first couple of days that it's been implemented. To start with, there seems to be a lot of specific small areas where you can stand and hear really weird audio of people who are like 50 or more meters away, but they sound like they're right on top of you. Directional sound seems to be really inconsistent, and sometimes it honestly feels like it's just reversed, with sounds from behind you sounding like they're right in front of your face or vice versa. So much for audio. There I was staring out this door, positive he was right over there, and he was actually coming back from this way. Okie dokie. I've played about an equal amount with and without binaural audio on, and I can't really tell the difference right now, honestly. It feels like the audio system works when it wants to and gets lazy sometimes, but when it all falls into place, it sounds a lot better than it did a week ago. The other awkward part of this change is the maps that weren't included in the update yet, which now exist in an awkward state of limbo where they don't have any advanced audio systems anymore. This will change in time, but I really hope it happens sooner rather than later, because honestly, I can't see myself wanting to play Shoreline without proper audio for 6 months. Of course, no Tarkov patch comes without some new goodies to play with, and 0.13 is no different. For weapons, we have 2 versions of the AUG, the RSH-12 revolver, a Glock 19X, the SR2 SMG, and underbarrel grenade launchers for AK and AR-15 rifles, which is kind of crazy considering how strong grenade launchers already were in Tarkov. I've so far only been able to play with the AUG, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. The base recoil stats without any upgraded attachments was honestly not too bad, and the sounds and animations are top notch, as you might expect. I really want to get on the SR2, but I make slow progress at the start of the wipe, so I don't really know when I'll get to it, but I'm really excited to load one up as soon as I can. Outside of new weapons, we have a lot of new barter items, a couple new armor rigs, and a pretty solid amount of attachments for other weapons. That being said, the things everyone are waiting to discover are the Lightkeeper and the new cultist boss, Zerachi, who defends the Lightkeeper in his lighthouse. I haven't messed around with this too much, but I guess we now have to navigate a claymore field to reach the lighthouse, and avoid getting shot by the new boss the whole time. As far as I can tell, we don't know what Lightkeeper has to offer us yet, but there's a bunch of new advanced electronics barter items, and the assumption is that he'll give us rewards for bringing him these electronics. I imagine the lighthouse is going to become a new hotspot for high-level players with the gear to take on the new boss and electronics to trade with Lightkeeper. But we'll have to wait and see what kind of news comes out about this whole situation as the wipe goes on, since BSG is quite content to let us figure it out ourselves. Outside of these changes, there's a whole lot of small quality of life things, such as being able to search the crafting lists in the hideout for specific items, and there's a whole new mechanic where we have to maintain our hideout with small tasks, where you end up getting debuffs, which is kind of interesting. There's also stuff like the buffs that weapon and armors are going to get when you repair them with repair kits, but I haven't even found a repair kit yet, so I don't really know how that's all going to work out. There's also a lot of theories saying that we'll be getting new hideout modules in the future, which would be very welcome, but right now, I think that's mostly just speculation. Overall, I think the 0.13 patch is a pretty good step forward so far. There's some stumbles for sure, but we're seeing forward progress on audio, we have some interesting new mechanics, and we can finally set foot on Streets of Tarkov. It's not perfect, but it's progress. And I'm just glad to see that we're not treading water in the same spot anymore and things are actually moving forward. But what do you think? Have you been enjoying Streets of Tarkov? Do you think the AUG is any good? Have you tried getting across the minefield to the lighthouse yet? Have your ears adjusted to the new audio? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for checking out the video. I've got links to my Twitch stream, Discord server, and Patreon page down below for anyone interested. And until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.